Okay, in this segment we're going to talk a little bit about how to use the gradebook in Blackboard. So in order to get to the gradebook, we're going to come over here and click on the center Grade Center. And I just expose it, and I'm going to click on here Full Grade Center. And this comes up. Now, one thing I have to tell you about the gradebook is that it only works when you actually have students enrolled. So you'll see that I am working within our online class, so you can see the students that are enrolled here. One of the things that is nice that Blackboard does for you is it kind of tells you the last time students accessed the Blackboard itself. So I can see that, for example, this NCMC student hasn't accessed the system since October 23rd, and so this student is getting a little bit behind in their classwork, and so you might want to have a conversation with that student. But as you can see, everybody else looks like they're doing a pretty good job, and that they're definitely staying in touch with the class. So that's one little thing I'll show you. When you go to work in the grade book, one of the things that I think that you're a good idea is start with this Manage tab. And when you start with the Manage tab, come down here to Categories and click on Categories. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure these are the pre-assigned categories that the computer gives us. But you're going to want to make sure that every assessment that you have fits into a category. And I'll definitely explain to you why that is as we go forward. But make sure that if these categories don't fit your needs, then create your own. And the way you do that is click up here, Create Category. And we just type in the name here, and I'm just going to say Attendance. And I don't need a description on it because that's pretty self-explanatory, and click Submit. So now you'll see that attendance is here, and anytime you see a little box next to a category, that means it's something that you created and you can delete or change or edit. These other categories you cannot change or edit. Okay? So that's how you create categories, and my recommendation is that you would want to set up those categories first. Once those are set up, then we click over here over to OK, and we come back to our main grade book, our grade book. From here, if you wanted to create a column in here, now remember, as I showed you in a previous video, when you create an assessment through the assessment tool, you can click on there to automatically create a column, and as we had mentioned earlier, if you look over here, test number 1 was created automatically for us when we created our assessment. Alright? But if I needed to create a column, then what I can do is I can go over here and say Create Column. And I give it a column name. And so I'm going to call this column, I don't know, let's call it Quiz, if I can spell it right, Quiz number 2. All right? Grade Center name, that doesn't really apply to us, don't worry about it. Description, I don't really need a description, I don't think so. Quiz number 2 is pretty self-explanatory, so I don't think I need to worry about that. But I do want to know, how do I want to display that grade? Do I want it to be a score, a letter grade, a text grade, or a percentage grade? Well, for me, I grade on points, and points is by far easier for both you and the system. So I'm going to click on Score. And then do I want a secondary display? Well, I don't in this case, but I'll show you how that'll work later on, and that sometimes can be handy. Now, the reason I created all my categories first was because then I can come down here to where it says Category, and then I can pick the category that I want this assessment to go into. And this will become very important later on, excuse me, when you want to pull all of your assessments together, or kind of, pull them together. So I might, if I have 15 quizzes, I might want to get one column that just looks at quizzes. So the fact that all my quizzes are in the same category makes it very easy to do that. I might have 5 chapter tests. So again, I can have one column that looks only at chapter tests, and that way, I think it makes it a little easier for students, but also makes it easier for you to see how students are doing. So I'm going to click on quiz as my category. Then, how many points is this quiz? Well, my quizzes are usually at about 10 points, so I just put down 10 points. And then again, do I want to have the dates on this? Not really. It doesn't really apply to me in this case, so I'm just going to leave that alone. Then I come down here to it says include this column in the Grade Center calculations. Yes, I definitely want to do that. Do I want to show this to students? Yes, I definitely want to do that. Statistics, nah, not that important. So then I click Submit. And when you add a column, it is always added to the far right side of the grade book. So if I come over here, here's quiz number 2. So you can see that that's there. If I somehow think I made a mistake, or if when I start putting things in here, I find out that maybe they're not right, if you click this down arrow right next to quiz number 2, okay, then you have the opportunity to come in here and edit column information, and it takes you back to that same screen that allowed me to create it, and then I can make whatever necessary adjustments I need to make on it. Maybe I spelled quiz wrong, or maybe I really want this to be a text letter or a percent, whoops, I'm going to do score, okay? And so again, you can just go through here and make all those changes, and then resubmit it, and it'll be corrected, okay? Now, if you wanted to put a grade in here, let's say we have our grades, and let's say for whatever reason the computer, let's say students wrote a paper, and you read their paper, maybe they inserted a paper through the journal, and you read their paper and you wanted to grade it, but not do it through the system. So, okay, let's say test number 1 is a paper. So I just come over here and I click on those 2 little dashes, and I put in my grade. And let's say that it's 100 points. Let's say they got 75 points on this paper. So I enter 75. I hit enter, and it puts a number in there. Let's say the next student got 65. So I hit enter. Maybe the next person got 100, and I hit enter. Okay? And so on and so on. Now you'll notice that you got this little arrow right here. So if I click on that arrow, that allows me to look at the individual grade. So I could view the grade details. I could give them a quick comment. So I could put, and if you see way over here on the right, I could put a comment in here like, good job, and then that person will see that when they go into their grade center, they'll see that. Okay, maybe I could put some notes in here like your third paragraph was too wordy, something like that. And then again, submit that. That'll be submitted into the comment section, so the student, when they open up their grade book, will be able to see that. And if you need to revise that grade, say that you allow them to turn that paper in again for a revision, we come back and say, click on the number. Again, you can backspace it. This time they did a little bit better, so I'm going to give them a 90 on it this time. I hit enter, and it records the new grade right there. So that's how you can revise grades. Okay? All right, so we've created all of our columns, and now we want to kind of bring things together a little bit. What's really nice is Blackboard creates a total column for you. So it's already looking at the total number of points that's right here. Let me just show you something that can happen that sometimes might be helpful to you. If you go up and click on this little arrow, like I was telling you earlier, so I want to edit the column information. And then you see it's total. Now it says this is the unweighted sum for all grades of a user. It gives me the score. So it's giving me the total number of points that they've accumulated so far in the course. But some students want to know, well, how am I doing? What would be my grade? Well, what I could do is click on this. And again, if you're graded on points, and here's the percent that they have so far. And again, I want to have all grade columns? Yes. As a running total? Yes, I want to have it as a running total. And then we can leave some of these other things. And when I click on submit, what you'll now see is I will have, here we have a total column and the actual percent that they have in the class so far. Now this number is off 115%, 0.91, so what that means is that I probably gave too many points out here for this test. I don't know how many points this test was originally worth, but I probably gave them too many points for it, and that's why it's recording more than the thing. But you can see, for example, here in this student, you know, in Chris's case, he's got a 75 points out of 100. That's a 75% in the class, and so that then the students would easily be able to see. But this demonstrates, well, this is the score, this is the percent, this is the primary and secondary displays, and that's what you can do there. And you can turn that on and off as you so wish. Okay. So again, to create a calculated column, if you needed to like you wanted to bring all your test scores and have one test score, you could do that here easily. So we come up here and say create a weighted column. We want to go ahead and give this a name. Now you want to make this pretty, probably you want to make this pretty specific, so you might just say, you know, and you have to truncate it so it fits nicely into the grade book. But maybe I'll say weighted quiz score. Okay? So weighted quiz score, again, I don't need a grade center name. Here might be a good place to put a description so that if you came back and you remember what this was, so you can say this is all quiz scores weighted sum. You know, whatever description best fits this. All right? How do I want to display it? I'm going to display it as a score. I don't need a secondary display. And here's where this comes out. Now, if I'm doing this weighted column and I'm doing it for quizzes, you come down here, well, I have the choice. I could click on all the individual I could click on all the individual assessments that made up quizzes and put them over. So here's my first quiz, for example. Here is my second quiz, for example. And I bring those over, and then I'd have to say the total weight must equal 100. So in this case, this one would be 50, this one would be 50, and so on, and then I would be, and then I would show, you can see here total weight's 100, so now this would be fine. Okay, that's one way that you could do that, but that can be kind of laborious, especially if you got 16 quizzes. I wouldn't want to have 16 things here and then figure out, you know, how much each one was worth. So I'm just going to get rid of that for a moment and show you an easier way. Is that because I created a category and I put all my quizzes in that category, all I do is click on quiz, click on that arrow. Now I can click on, that's going to be 100%. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to drop the two lowest quiz scores. And so by clicking on 2, I'm dropping the two lowest quiz scores, and then I can move on and go from there. So it works out pretty good. And then again, here, do you want it to be a running total? And the answer here is yes, you do. You want it to be a running total. And, you know, again, here's some of the options. So do you want to include this in the grade center? Yes, I do. Do you want to show this to a student? Yes, I do. And then you hit submit. And again, this will be added to the far right side of the grade book. So here's our weighted quiz score. And quite honestly, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have this closer to the left. So I need to rearrange these a little bit. And the best way to do that is, again, to go over here to the Manage tab and come down here to Column Organization. And then I can scroll down here, and I'll see that these are fixed. I might be able to change these. But down here, here's my weighted quiz score. So I can just grab this one and just slide it, kind of do a drag, you know, click on it. And I'm going to say I want it first, right there. So I just put it right there, and that's where it'll be in the grade book. And then I can just hit submit. And you'll see now that my weighted quiz score is right here, right behind my total score. So that gives you some basics on how to use the grade book Hopefully you'll find this helpful, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.